there's a switch that was flipped. It totally shifted the way I love everything I do. And I love every part of my life. And a lot of those things are hard, but because I've actually rejected culture's influence saying hard is bad, hard is painful, you need to do you need to be comfortable, you need to have more fun. It's like, well, what is fun? Success is fun. Mm-hmm. Having good relationships is fun. Having income is fun. Building a legacy is fun. Getting a momentum and traction in whatever field you're in is fun. But all those things require work. Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, and I'm joined in studio today with Brae Beadles, the Director of 5-Star Life Basketball Operations. Brae, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Love having you on. If you just tuned in, really want to encourage you to help us out. If you like the show and you're a repeat viewer of 5-Star Life with Coach Seth, go ahead and hit the like button. That helps us a lot. And then share it. When there's content that's helpful, take a minute to share it. Also, just a reminder, you can listen to this show anywhere that podcasts are streamed. You can also watch us now on YouTube at The 5-Star Life. Check it out. I love YouTube because I like to watch things, listen to things. I don't always necessarily watch it, but I almost use it as a podcast player because the thing that's cool is it leaves off wherever you stop. So if I come back 3 days later, it picks up right where I left off, which is nice. So nice feature for you. So we're on a mission to change the face of education, of sports, of culture. And you can also learn more about the mission of 5-Star Life at 5starlife.org. We just launched a new website a couple weeks ago.
Looks great.
It looks awesome.
Looks awesome.
Yeah, very interactive.
I'm jealous of the, on the homepage, there's like a video. And on the I was like, I got to put this on the basketball page because it just grabs you right when you get to the homepage. It's just a video of a quick glimpse of everything that we're doing, right? And I'm like, I got to get one of those made for the basketball site.
We're so visual.
Yeah.
As I read this study, it's so interesting because a lot of people think, why is 5-Star Life doing so many things visually? We have video curriculum that's impacting thousands of kids. We're doing this show now on YouTube. Why visually? Well, we learn visually. The number one learning style is visual learning. And so that's like 65% of the world learns best by seeing, right? And then I think next is like by hearing. So auditory is 30%. And so then a small percent is like by text or sequential learners, which by the way is how our educational system is set up.
Yes, it is.
Right.
And it's the faults of that are becoming known now, I would say.
Yeah. So it's a big deal, but I was reading that, and I have this, I wonder if I have this, if I can pull this up, because I don't want to quote it wrong, but it is a ridiculous number how the brain processes, how much faster the brain processes information when it's visual than just text.
I totally could see that. I mean, I think I've said this a couple times. I'm a big podcast guy, but I've turned more into the YouTube end of the shows that I try to watch, right? So, or listen to, and I've really enjoyed that. And when you talk about even our curriculum, well, we're the visual end, and then the next stage would then be writing it down, and like that's, I think, another reason why we're able to make so much impact is because we're hitting how kids learn in multiple areas, right? The two highest, the two biggest areas that people learn, right, is visual, and then writing things down and through our journals and whatnot.
It's why sports. I mean, the studies out there that correlate the academic and just overall growth of kids that are involved in sports at adolescence is just overwhelming. And then you can also say sports, it's also music. So kids that play an instrument, same thing. Why? Because they're doing something kinetic. It's tactile, it's hands-on. They're doing something, they're learning a skill. And it's also, there's all these visual images of what they're doing. So the learning is so much more engaging.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think of even when I was a young pup, I played the trumpet. And,
no kidding.
Yeah, I don't think
Brae
you knew that
the trumpet player. That's a first.
Yep. 6th grade, I was the lead trumpet. No, I don't know if that's a thing.
I played a very, very intricate instrument too. It was called the recorder.
Oh, yeah.
So it was required.
Shout out to the recorder. My mom went to Ireland for the Notre Dame game, and what gift did she bring home for my 2 toddlers? 2 Irish-themed recorders. So I can't thank her enough for that.
Oh, gift. What a great gift. That's the gift that just keeps on giving.
Yes. Well, I was going to talk about reading music, right? So like just the thought of playing an instrument and then reading the music and understanding sort of the flows and the pitches of certain notes. And it's like, it's very, very stimulating. Right. And, as I've gotten older, I was very sports and I still am, but as I've gotten older, I've grown much more appreciation for like music, right? And like, when you're in 5th, 6th grade, you might think, I don't want to go to music class, but like there's a ton of value in that. And like, I love, like piano in song, like I love that, it's just like, so I've grown a deeper appreciation for music in general. And I wish that I would have done more of that when I was younger. So when I hear like our players sometimes are like, yeah, I'm in the band, I'm like, do it, love it, stay in the band, like there's a ton of value in that. And something I didn't appreciate enough when I was that young.
This is so interesting because we weren't planning to go down this rabbit hole, but while we're here, we might as well just camp out and make it a thing. If you're listening to this program, I really want to encourage you, if you have some sort of skill that you could teach kids to do, or if you're interested in working with kids to help them develop skills, I really want to ask you to consider getting involved with 5 Star Life. So we are, we have this 350-acre training facility called Summit that is designed to do just that. It's to really lend itself to kids who need to learn by doing, by seeing, and by repetition. And so that's really the purpose of Summit. And we are getting ready to launch a program called the 5 Star Life Innovative Learning Project. And it is a partnership with local schools where kids will come out during the school day to not just do school, but to do school that is hands-on. So it's math, it's science, it's all these things, but it's connected to blacksmithing. It's connected to an anatomy where they're seeing it physically. And so if this sounds like something you are interested in being a part of, we need more people that want to teach kids how to work with their hands and be a part of that process. Go to 5starlife.org. If you have a friend, a neighbor, whatever, that you're like, man, they're great at this, they would love this, reach out to them and get them connected to us.
Yeah, there's so much value in that. When I give tours on to Summit, and we go to our blacksmithing area, and then like it's kind of in like a smaller-ish field area, right? And like I don't even know if this is part of our plan, but I envision like, okay, the trades, right, being in that area, or like just like providing those so yeah, kids can come and forge metal and work with hot metal and then go to our nature center and dissect a cow eye or something, right? But then I'm thinking like, well, what about the guys that are, or girls or kids that, hey, I want to be an electrician, or I want to be an iron worker, or something like that. And I'm thinking like that area, I just keep thinking like there's going to be a school here one day that an electrician is going to come in and teach all these kids that trade in particular, right? Or plumbing or something.
See, we have incredible trade schools, like the Career Center is it's brilliant. However, the problem is there's not enough kids enrolled in the program because they don't find out about it until the point that they're kind of checked out with school. So what we want to do is not start another Career Center. We want to take the Career Center younger. And so we're going to do all of these skills, and we've already started, but 5th and 6th grade.
Yeah.
Start them young where they can start working with their hands, finding out what they enjoy, what they love, because kids come alive.
Sure. I think they should spend more time on it too. Like, I think even the kids that are at the Career Center aren't there enough exploring those specific areas that they're interested in, right? And that's all, we talk about our education system, and not to just knock it, but it's, when you spend time doing what you love and your interest level, right? And yeah, there's value in completing parts of, educational curriculum that you don't love to do, but finishing it, right? There's a ton of value in that, but getting kids involved in things that they are very interested in is like, that's to me where you're going to see the most growth in terms of like just general growth educationally and interest level in kids and engagement.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's a big paradigm shift in education happening right now. We're really excited to be a part of it and kind of right in the middle of it. We got to take a quick commercial break and come back with more 5 Star Life Radio after this. But at the break, if you're not driving, go ahead and send a message to a friend, to a family member with information about getting involved with 5 Star Life or tuning into this program.
Did you know that you can bring the values, lessons, and mindsets Coach Seth discusses on the 5 Star Life podcast to your local community? Schools are searching for programs and content that work. Just a simple introduction to your teacher or principal could be a game changer in your community. Inquire at 5starlife.org and someone from our team will be in touch.
Welcome back to the 5 Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, and I'm joined in studio with the 5 Star Life Director of Basketball Operations, Coach Brae Beadles.
Thanks for having me back. Excited to be here.
Love having you on. So if you just tuned in, really want to encourage you to go check us out online and understand the mission of 5 Star Life. Like, we're on a a laser-focused mission to change the face of education, of sports, of culture. You can learn more at 5starlife.org. Brae heads up 5 Star Life Basketball, which before we dive into 5 Star Life Basketball, Brae, I want to ask you a question. So you do this full time, and you were in business before. You were in sales, and you're a young man. You're driven. You're motivated. You were making good money, and you left that because you had a passion to help kids with basketball. Why did you turn down a career where your focus is being lucrative and making money to come do this? I mean, you get paid to do this, but help me understand that. Help our audience understand that.
Yeah. I mean, just love kids, and I love, look, here's the thing. When we were, the quick story of when we were doing our own basketball thing before we were associated directly with 5 Star, it was one of those things where we thought, we were trying to make the most of it, right? And like we were impacting kids, but it wasn't very deep impact, right? And like you never coach, you never teach for the money, right? Like that's just not. Now, if you can make yourself into the head coach of Duke, yeah, of course you're going to make some money, right? But like the high school teachers and coaches and the these levels, small college levels, even you're doing it because of the impact on the kids and what you can teach them along the way, right? So we were impacting kids, and then ultimately, when you guys, Seth and Mia and 5 Star came into the picture of hey, this is something we could do together, and we took it honestly, the tour of Summit sold me. Like I loved you and I loved Mia and the conversations. Then I was able to meet Jim at one point after a tour of Summit, and like the people obviously are great. Like that goes without saying, but the tour of Summit is what turned the corner for us, because we were like, whoa, this is something that's like everything that 5 Star is about was what we were doing coaching, but we were only impacting 20 kids. We had 16 teams, but the top 3 teams were getting impacted because we just didn't have the resources to have that trickle down effect, right? And then we toured Summit. We looked at the possibilities of getting basketball involved at Summit, and hybrid leadership basketball camps, and and having our teams be involved in leadership days at Summit, and just the endless possibilities. And that to me, like I remember going down the hill at Summit towards the lake, and it was just like, and it was a beautiful time of year. It was like fall. It was a little chilly that day. We were in your car, and I just remember like going down that hill and looking at that lake and being like, this just keeps getting better the farther back we go. And I just keep thinking of the impact, and I was like, okay, that's like, this is going to make so much sense when we all, and then obviously everything else worked itself out from there. But what it was not easy for me to do, right? I'm only 30, I guess I'm 31 now, I'm getting old, but it was my first job or so out of college. We were doing well. We my wife and I, but I was working, and I was just like coming home, and that's it. I was just like status quo of like, just American worker, I guess, if you will. Right. And then, but I didn't feel this passion and this purpose behind every single day that I went to work. Right. Other than this is what you're supposed to do because you got to make money. Right. And just like and again, going back to Summit, like that tour of Summit really opened my eyes to what we can do and help these kids and have a bigger impact, and what 5 Star as an organization, the resources that it has, the structure that it has, the blueprint that it has, right, of impact. And it was a no-brainer at that point, and it's turned into something now that obviously I love. I don't feel like I work every day. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but I don't. And I really enjoy coming in here and working with our team and seeing what we're able to do, and just the impact that we're having outside of even basketball, like just hearing what Snap's about and how awesome that is. And then running into the head judge of St. Joe County because this kid tried out for one of our teams, and hey, there's Snap kids here trying out too. And it's just like seeing all that come full circle. Now it's even more, it validates the decision even more, and it's something that I hope we can continue for years to come.
Yeah. And we've never had this conversation on air quite like this, where I'm asking you kind of, and kind of talking about like, when you're 29 years old and you're in business, and, you and your wife are doing well, but then there's this fire inside of you. There's this thing that you want to do, but you're like, do I really do this? Do I go all in or not? Those are tough, life-shaping, life-changing decisions. And there's so many people that, there's all these fears of failure, these fears of what's going to happen financially, of are we going to be able to do this? Yeah. Like there's a lot that goes into those decisions. And I'm highlighting this because there's people listening right now who, and it's not to knock people that aren't doing 5-star basketball. The whole point is about, I guess for a listening audience, is the question I have is, have you pursued the things that you're passionate about? That's the most important thing, because that's what makes us come alive. And talk about that for a second. How has saying yes to this and going full, both feet in the water, how has that impacted your life?
Well, just seeing just seeing like the opportunities we've been able to provide kids, right, at the next level. And then when you couple that to like, that's the reward that everybody sees and celebrates, right? But the day-to-day rewards of helping a kid through a rough time, or noticing a kid is struggling in something and being able to have the relationship to notice it, address it, and help that, that kid get through whatever that is he's going through, right? That's what it's all about at the end of the day. And I would say too, like, look, I struggled big time with the decision, and it's weird how all this works, I was at a time in my life in basketball where I wasn't sure it was sustainable, and was it going to work? Are we ever going to be able to do anything with this, that we truly want to do? And, there's financials involved in that. There's like, hey, I have a 1-year-old and I'm gone all the time at the gym and we're not making any money. It's a hobby. It's not a job. It's a hobby. Right. So, a lot of thoughts went through my head. I read the book, The Proximity Principle, by Ken Coleman during this time. It was very similar to, it was like weird timing of how I read that book, and it's all about surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded, that what you want to do. And, if you have a dream, like, you got to talk to people that are living your dream, and, all those types of things, and see what the process is and take advice from all those people, and that's when 5-Star kind of came into the picture, and it was just like, wait, I have this opportunity now all of a sudden that I could maybe do this full time. And I was at a point basketball wise where, with Tipping Point, where Brandon and I were like, I don't know if we can do this another year. Like, we were to the point where, like, if we don't go all in with 5-Star right now, we're just going to get out of it completely. Right. And so, long-winded way, I guess, of getting to the point of, if you've got something you're passionate about, like, you owe it to yourself to pursue it to its furthest, and if it works, you're going to feel so fulfilled every single day. And if it doesn't work, guess what? You gave it everything you got, and sometimes you have to make decisions, and it maybe it doesn't work, but you got to take that leap of faith. You only live once, right? And I'm so happy that we did, and the timing of everything, and reading that book, and it was all interesting the way it all happened.
Very cool. Well, so I want to come back after the break, and I want to talk a little more specifically. You talked about some of the rewards of doing this. I mean, so many kids are in college right now because of the influence and the impact of what you've poured into them. Kids that had that dream of playing college basketball and getting scholarships to do it. That's happening. But I want to get into some of the on-ramps and some of the programs we have coming up here for parents and grandparents who have kids. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back again with Coach Brae Beadles, 5-Star Life Basketball. On the break, go ahead and shoot a text, share this, like this with somebody. Go to 5starlife.org to learn more.
5-Star Life is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to changing the face of culture by changing kids' mindsets. Since 2005, we've impacted hundreds of thousands of lives thanks to the generous support of individuals, small businesses, corporations, and foundations. Are you interested in helping 5-Star Life grow into all 50 states? With your donation or introduction, you can help bring 5-Star Life to your community, school, and state. Go to 5starlife.org and send us an email today. That's FIVESTARLIFE.org.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, and I am joined in studio having a great conversation with the one and only Director of 5-Star Life Basketball Operations, Coach Brae Beadles. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hey, so before the break, we were talking about, you're talking about some of the rewards of doing this, how rewarding it is to be a part of this and to be impacting kids' lives. I want you to talk to our audience about ways they can get local kids involved.
Yeah.
But I do want you to set this up by talking about, give me a story of a kid that was interested in basketball, but maybe didn't have natural talent, because a lot of people wrongly think, well, like, my kid's not an athlete, or they're not a basketball player yet. That's okay. That's why we have these developmental programs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what our youth development league is for, right? The introductory phase, and one thing we take a lot of pride in is having that developmental program even outside of 1st through 6th graders, right? So if you have a sophomore son that is interested in getting better at basketball, or trying to understand basketball, or make the team next year, or whatever it is, like, we can help put small goals in place, right? For, step one is, all right, let's make a JV team, right? Or whatever it is. And that's, so the Youth Development League is one of the programs that we have coming up. That's one of the largest things that we do program wise. And, last year we had a lot of fun with the Youth Development League, because I've changed my stance a little bit on it. I used to dread it. Right. And, like, not because I didn't want to be there, but it's just like, it was hard to work with. It was hard to work with the highest level of kids and then go and work with 1st graders that don't know anything. And it's like, hold on, I got to completely change the way I communicate and the way I view this and teach this. Right. So I struggled with that for a little bit there as we took the program over. But now I've come to really enjoy it and love it. And, we had a couple boys in it last year that would have never had the opportunity to participate if it wasn't for our scholarship program. And I'll always remember them. They're just great kids that probably had more of an impact on me than I had on them potentially, right? Just seeing them and the joy that they had and the situation that they're coming from, it didn't matter to them. Like they were on the basketball court having fun, and they just like little stuff like that is just, and that's part of the reward too of why we do this. We had a guy that is a freshman in college, was a player in our program, and I talked to his parents at our fall league a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, "Hey, how's he doing? How's he getting adjusted to college life?" And Dad was like, he's doing all right. He's got a roommate that's kind of makes some bad decisions and involved in some stuff maybe that doesn't want to be involved in or be around and et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, you know what? I'll call him and touch base with him, just see how he's doing, right? So I call him and he of course he lies to me at the beginning. Not lies, but like everything's great. I love it.
Sure.
Like we have no issues. I'm like, dude, I talked to your dad. Like I know what's going on. And he's like, and then he starts opening up a little bit more. I was like, yeah, my roommate's into smoking weed and partying, and these are 18-year-old kids, freshmen, and
sure.
And he's like, I don't want to be around that. He's like, he's never really here. I don't really have a good roommate relationship, so like my adjustment to going to a school that I don't really know anybody has been a little difficult. And I said, well, I said, think about all the stuff that we did and that we emphasized, and part of our philosophy as a program is we're gonna do things the hard way, because the rewards of that at the end of the day are greater than just hitting the easy button, right? So when we talk about having a structured program and the details that we emphasize, and I asked them, I said, do you remember all those times that we had to stop and do things like run or stop and have an accountability step along the way because this detail wasn't done right, or every I wasn't dotted and every T wasn't crossed? And sometimes during that time you were probably like, man, I don't understand why we're doing this, right? But like I said, because right now it's easy for you to make the right choice because you have been conditioned for 2 years within our leadership to do what's hard. Because right now it would be easy for you to just fall into that. Like, I want to go hang out with my roommate. I want to be included. I want to go, but no, that like the right thing to do is not to be involved in that. And exactly, like you are conditioned to make the hard choice, and like that conversation to me was part of the reward too, where I was
Absolutely.
like, holy cow, what we're doing is like working, because he has no desire to do any of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's hopefully we had something to do with that. Right.
And kudos to his parents for getting him involved, with Five Star basketball and with you. Parents, the best thing you can do is recognize that as they come into adolescence, you need a village. You need some other people that are going to reinforce those same values, those same things that you've been modeling and teaching that bring success, that protects them from getting off track and getting sucked in by opportunities that in the moment just feel like fun.
Yes.
But they can ruin your life.
Yes.
And so there's such a wisdom. That's why we just tell parents, grandparents, like, get your kids, get your grandkids, push them to get involved. And if you're going to be a part of a youth sports program, make sure you're vetting, like, they're not all equal.
Yeah.
They're not all the same.
Yeah.
Both in the way that at the level they're teaching the sport and the fundamentals of the sport, but also in the way they bring people into the organization and the vetting process and the training process. Are you going to get somebody who's a person of character that's going to reinforce or go against what you've been teaching them their whole lives?
Yeah, and does your coach have a relationship with your kid that can understand the issue and then direct and like be able to provide the pathway of like, this is why you're here because of the steps we've taken, right? And then for the kid not to be like, whatever. No, then for the kid to be like, oh yeah, I totally see it. Like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that's the village and the relationship that it takes for that to happen. And this is a kid that loves basketball, just wants to be around basketball, doesn't want the distractions, right? And like, but he and someone who's so dedicated, right? But it's like, it's still hard for him, right? And but that's part of life and decision making, and that's when we emphasize like, hey, your decisions reveal your priorities at the end of the day, right? Like your roommate's his priorities are not basketball. His priorities are not being a great student, being a great teammate, being on the floor, right? Like, but yours are, or are they, right? And those are questions that we ask all the time and challenge our kids. So,
yeah, it's so interesting that the way the philosophy of our culture has conditioned us to think about hard things. And, it's weird, but like we've been conditioned to live for after 5 o'clock, for the weekends, for all these things. Like when in reality, I learned this. I can't remember how old I was when I learned this, but when I latched onto this concept that like doing hard work and doing hard things is just a part of successful life. So either I'm going to agonize over doing hard things, or I'm going to embrace it and enjoy the journey. It totally shifted the way I love everything I do. Like I do a lot of different things, and I love every part of my life. And a lot of those things are hard, but because I've actually rejected culture's influence saying hard is bad, hard is painful, you need to do you need to be comfortable, you need to have more fun. It's like, well, what is fun? Success is fun. Mm-hmm. Having good relationships is fun. Having income is fun. Building a legacy is fun. Getting a momentum and traction in whatever field you're in is fun. But all those things require work.
Well, and it's probably 20 years down the road, right? Fun is 20 years down the road, but what are you going to do to get yourself there, right? You can take the easy route right now and have fun today, but in 20 years you'll look back and be like, I didn't set myself up to be successful.
And I remember 19 years ago, pushing when we first started Five Star Life, we were doing after school programs. That's all we did. We had one program, after school program. Now we have so many programs. It's just mind boggling to me. But I remember it's snowing. There's like a blizzard, and I'm pushing this big piece of sound equipment from a trailer through snow to get into the school to run this after school program. And I'm the only one there. I'm setting up, and I'm just like, there's a switch that was flipped. I'm just like, this is awesome. This is what, I'm going to do all this stuff that people don't want to do this. People don't want to push a sound system in cold weather through snow. They don't want to go into a cafeteria and set up all the equipment by themselves. They don't want to prepare all this stuff and think through how do we change kids' lives. What we want to do is we want to show up and see impact. But there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And when I started to latch onto this is what it feels like, I would laugh. I'd be giddy doing these things by myself. Like, I love it. I love this. This is what hard work is. This is what impact looks like. And so it is, it's contagious, and it has just become a way of life, and it's something we can all grasp. But we're over time in this segment. We got to take another quick break. Like this, share this. If you think somebody's going to be encouraged by this, make sure you share this out. And we'll take a break and come right back after this.
5 Star Life offers year-round programs for kids at our 350-acre training facility that we call Summit. These programs focus on 3 core components. First, each program includes lessons from our curriculum that targets kids' mindset. Secondly, each program teaches a skill like equine, archery, blacksmithing, basketball, fishing, boating, and many more. Thirdly, our programs connect kids to mentors we call coaches, who are trained to help kids live a 5-star life. Go to 5starlife.org to learn more or sign up your kids.
Welcome back to the 5 Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth. We're having a great conversation with our 5 Star Life Director of Basketball Operations, Coach Brae Beadles.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me again.
This is fun. I love having you on. So anything else basketball-wise you want to hit?
Yeah, I didn't spend a ton of time on Youth Development League. I'll just quickly go through that again. Our next program sort of coming up for 1st through 6th grade boys and girls is our annual Youth Development League. We're excited to offer 3 sessions this year. So session 1 comes up here towards the end of October. Still plenty of time to get signed up for that. It will be completed before Thanksgiving. Session 2 will run through the month of January, and then session 3 will run through the month of February. So 3 great sessions coming up here. You get a practice a week, skill development, team concepts, right? Elementary stuff, teaching to the young kids, footwork, fundamentals, and then Saturday gameplay. So it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy. I could probably write a book with what some of these kids have said to me at one point. It's just like, it's so funny. And like, I have a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, and a younger one that's not talking yet, but I just love what they come up with, you know? And it's just like, I one day, like I can't grow any facial hair whatsoever. Okay. But I like went,
me and you like,
yeah, it sucks. I want to grow a beard so bad, but I went and I was kind of scruffy, like I should have shaved probably, right? And I'm talking to these kids, and like this first grader we finished a huddle and we did like our 5-star and 3. He goes, "Yeah, thanks, mustache man." And I'm just like, where do these kids come up with this stuff? You know, like I just want to write a book of the quotes that I get from the development week.
Kids are the best.
I love it.
They
so
make
funny.
the most incredible comments. It's amazing, and we have the privilege of working with all kinds of kids, all ages of kids. And so 5-star basketball, I mean, that's first grade.
Yeah, first through sixth grade is
through
our
sixth grade.
Yeah.
We have travel basketball happening for elementary and middle school. And then this spring and summer, we do high school. So literally first grade through seniors is 5-star basketball.
Yep.
And, you know, we have so many other programs. And I had the privilege yesterday of being in 2 really fun programs that are developing and growing, and we're getting requested to scale them across the state. But I was over at the detention center, and you know, working with kids who obviously have made mistakes. They're there for gang affiliated things, drug related, you know, things, some violence, you name it. They're there for those types of things. And they ask the best questions. So when I get there, they have all these questions on the board for me that they want. And the first question was, Coach Seth, what do you think, in your opinion, defines what a good life is? And we had a great conversation. I flipped it to them and asked them what they thought, you know, was a good life. And the simplicity was beautiful. The one kid just said, I just think having peace, like being at peace with who I am, like having a good relationship with myself and having peace, that'd be the good life for me. And we just had this incredible conversation. I said, well, you know, what holds you back from living the good life? Like what is that's holding you back? And they talked about all kinds of things, from the system that put me in here to the habits and the decisions they make. Like they were blaming the system, which there is a system, and they were blaming themselves. And I just said, you know, ultimately, the place to start is every person has to understand their value. Because in this world, I mean, think about how many people, Brae, in this listening audience, just get a visual of, as I'm saying this, how many people truly see your value?
Yeah.
Like truly, how many people actually truly see your value and your full potential and treat you that way? I mean, there are not many people. It's probably a one-hand type of thing for most of us, unless you're really, really fortunate, right? So very few people know your value. And then even fewer people actually treat you the way you should be treated. And so understanding your value, and that right there, the more we can start to understand our value and where you get that value, is it from, you know, what your parents have said to you? I'm sure that's a big deal. Like you get value from parents for sure. But ultimately, where's your value coming from? Because if you get value from people that can devalue you, now the second part of really living a great life to me is power. When you understand your value and understand your power and retain your power and know how to use your power, that creates a good life. Because there's so many kids and they're sitting in there and they're telling me their story about how they've never met their dad, or their dad walked out of them, or their mom is on drugs, or they're left to fend for themselves, or they were abused by the person that was supposed to be there for them. And what they're saying is, I have no power. I have no value. Or because so-and-so devalued, diminished my value by this act or that word or that curse, now I have no power. And I just said, listen, you have to make up your mind about a couple things. One, are you going to value yourself? Like the relationship you have with yourself starts and ends with you. It's right here. And when you start to realize, like, I'm encapsulated. I have to understand my value for myself, and I have to value myself. And then I need to understand and recognize the power that I do have, because you can shut off a lot of these other voices that are trying to steal your power, or steal your attention, or devalue you. And so there's some work we have to do in ourselves. It was just this incredible conversation.
You know, it's super interesting, the answer that that he gave, or to your question of just finding peace. I was like, wow, that's just like, you know, look, the stereotype and the thought is if those kids don't know anything, they're not smart, they make bad decisions, like that's the stereotype, right?
Correct.
By general community members. But like me hearing that answer, I'm like, holy cow, this kid just needs help. Like he just needs a path, you know?
If you go in there, and sometimes you should go with me sometime.
Yeah.
These kids are brilliant. These kids are sharp. They have been through some junk. Yep. They have some wrong mindsets, which is why they're implementing 5-star and why they're growing. Yep. But when I made that comment about like it's your value and your power, a kid said, "Yeah, but Coach Seth, it's not that easy." I said, "I didn't say it was easy. Mm-hmm. It's simple, but it's not easy." He said, "Yeah, but it's not even that simple." I said, "Explain that to me." He said, "Well, I'm a foster kid, right? So this kid is an orphan. He's been in detention 6 times. He's in the pipeline to prison. That is where he is destined to go, because that's what statistically, metrics say." Yeah. I said, "Well, here's the deal. You are here now." He said, "Yeah, but it's worse. I've been diagnosed with chronic depression. I've been diagnosed with this. And I took a piece of paper. There's a little label sitting at the desk, and I took a marker and I wrote on him. I wrote the word power, and I slapped it on his chest and I said, "Well, I diagnose you with power." Mm. I said, "Who are you going to believe? You're going to believe you have chronic depression for the rest of your life, that this is just how it is? You're going to just accept that because somebody told you that?" Mm. And I said, "Listen, these diagnoses," and this is for parents listening out there, I am not knocking therapy or psychology because it's important, it's vital, it's relevant, there's data behind it. But the thing that was intended to diagnose something, to raise a flag so that we could bring attention and health and healing and change the trajectory, has become this box to minimize and keep them in that box. That's what I was pushing back on for that kid. Yeah. And I said, "So listen, do you believe you have power, or do you believe that you're chronically depressed and there's nothing you can do about it?"
Yeah. Yeah, the conception of those diagnoses are there to hold people back is pretty much what it's viewed as now.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not, ultimately.
Right.
And just hearing you say I took a piece of paper and smacked power on his chest, like I was like, wow, that gave me the chills even thinking about that, because no one's ever probably challenged him to think that way. And that's exactly what he would need.
So this is, at 5-Star Life, there's so many places for people to get involved and be a part of the solution. Yes, there's thousands of kids dropping out of school every day. Yes, there's thousands of kids that are experimenting with drugs. There's thousands of kids that are getting hooked on porn. There's thousands of kids that are going down there. There's thousands of kids that are in these dark places. It's an epidemic, but there is light. There's hope. We're a part of it, and we're really asking our listening audience to be a part, either financially or voluntarily. We need you to get engaged in the game now more than ever. This is the beginning of a big volunteer push we're doing, asking people to get involved. Go to 5starlife.org to learn more, to get involved. We're out of time. Thank you so much for tuning in.
At 5-Star Life, we are changing the face of culture through education and sports by changing the most important piece of a human being's life, their mindset. If you are interested in being a part of our journey, please visit 5starlife.org for more information on volunteer and donation opportunities.